What did you tell the squad after that one?
I actually haven't spoken to them. I think, and I didn't do on the final day here last year because I don't want to be the guy stood in the dressing room, sort of taking the players away from their families, and how nice a moment it is to have won here on this day. We had a big win on Fan Appreciation Day last year, or the last home game, and it is exactly the way that you'd want to finish the year here. And the players know full well that was a very good performance, that we carried out a lot of what we intended to carry out, and we've built a lot of momentum, and we did what was needed to be done today. So it doesn't need me to reinforce that. And we're now in a position whereby we lose a couple of the internationals, and we wish them luck, and the remainder of the group stays and rests and trains and sets up what is a really interesting finish now.
Can you just talk about how much quality kind of service your team was able to get into the box today? It seemed like most of those crosses coming in found heads and found good open space.
Yeah, no, we were really pleased with how it panned out. We'd obviously done something tonight that we haven't done over the course of the season. I think we're at that stage where it's another iteration of the team with some of the problems that we've had over the course of the last couple of weeks, and we've enjoyed trying to find solutions to those, and tonight was one of the better nights for the coaching staff, I would say, and the players, of course. But we obviously scratch our heads as to how we compensate for no recognised number 9, and how we try to retain a lot of the principles that have put us in such a good position over the course of this year, in the context of a change of system and asking some players to do some things that are slightly different. So we were really pleased with the overall performance, but certainly the level of threat that we carried, definitely from set plays, as is always the case, and as the game ran on, I felt like we were good value for far more than we ultimately got.
You sort of touched on that change of formation. What made you decide to go with sort of a classic 4-4-2 tonight?
Yeah, we wanted to retain a lot of the good stuff that we've built over the course of the year in terms of principles, in terms of the way in which we defend, with also trying to really pose the opposition some very different problems at the top of the pitch, the types of problems that a Minnesota team at the beginning of the season with Tanny and Kelvin would have caused teams. And I think you couldn't be a more different point on that spectrum between playing with two out-and-out recognised number 9s to setting up as we did tonight with Joaquin and Rob, and I felt like it worked really well without us compromising too much of what we've done so far, and that was a very recognisable Minnesota team, I would say, in spite of the fact that there was players playing in very unrecognisable positions. So I think that's what we wanted tonight. We wanted to show some versatility, some flexibility, and an ability to find some solutions to the problems that we've got, but without losing what makes us a good team. And I think the irony probably is in the fact that we look so different. We certainly in terms of personnel, it's a game where we dominate the ball, we make a lot of chances, but ultimately it's set plays that puts us where we want to be there.
Markanich, just his movement off the ball, he has had an impressive goal scoring as a fullback. Just what have you seen from him and his ability to make kind of things happen off the ball and find the right space?
Yeah, well, it's set plays where he gets the bulk of his goals, and we're fortunate that we've found a way over the course of the season of making sure that we've got we carry real threat on set plays from multiple situations across multiple phases of each set play, and Anthony obviously has a very good knack for finding himself in the right space on the second phase of set plays, which is almost impossible to deal with for the opposition, because yes, we're working towards a framework, and yes, we've got some very clear principles that we're working towards executing in those moments, but it's very difficult to predict. So I think Anthony really uses that element of unpredictability well, and it's no mean feat to find himself in those positions and then score so regularly, because the chances that he takes aren't always easy. So it was another remarkable night for a player that has come on leaps and bounds over the course of this year.
Could you have predicted Anthony Marcanic turning into the purest goal scorer on your squad?
No, but it's needed at the moment, and I think if you look at where our players are in the goal scoring charts and some of the difficulties that we've had in that sense over the course of the year, we've really needed, number one, we've needed set plays. Number two, we've needed players like Anthony to really step up and grasp our situation by the scruff of the neck and take some accountability and responsibility, and he's really done that. Nectar, obviously, since his arrival, has taken on a little bit of that mantle as well. So I think between now and the end of the year, we are going to have to make sure that everyone chips in with goals and everyone does what those two guys do, which is put their hands up and say, I'm an important part of this team and I'm going to make sure that we win games of football.
What's the update on his sort of injury status?
Do you know what? I'm not sure, but he was fairly adamant that he wanted to continue, and I think at the stage of the game that we were at, it wasn't necessary. So I think that's probably a good sign. It didn't seem that it was really serious, and obviously now with us going into a 2-week break, we've got a chance to reset and make sure that gets dealt with well. So yeah, fingers crossed he won't be too far away.
Pereira's just off the ball, work rate, his passing, and he has the goal as well. Just what stood out to you the most about his performance?
Yeah, I think what pleases me about his performance, Rob's performance tonight, is that they're getting asked to do something different. But as I've said, we did not want to lose that very clear Minnesota brand of football in terms of the difficulty to beat, the players' work rate, their commitment to playing as part of a team, and their firstly acceptance of the responsibilities that we give them, but then the execution with that level of aggression, with that level of consistency. That was really important tonight, and in order to make that work against a tricky opposition, as you've seen with some good players, we really needed that level of buy-in and that level of relentlessness that he showed, Rob showed, and then I think Joaquin rarely lets you down on the ball. Interesting player in the sense every time he gets the ball he wants to make something happen. So sometimes you see lots of turnovers, but you have to take the rough with the smooth in that sense, because he's one of the more creative players in the league, and I think if you start to soften that and you start to ask him to take less risks on the ball, you don't see the same player, and unfortunately tonight a lot of those passes came off.
Obviously, there's no trophy on the line, but how much are you sort of following the other Western Conference results and sort of living and dying with what goes on there?
Yeah, we are. We're disappointed to obviously see how it's panned out with San Diego late on in the game there. And yeah, whilst it's not a trophy, I think the fact that we are right in contention, hopefully up until the last day for top spot in the West, is a real achievement, and we wanted to take it this far. We've obviously gone well beyond the club's point record at this point, which was the first milestone. The next milestone for us was to try and make sure that we took it to the final day, and assuming things are in our favour over the course of the international break with LA and Vancouver, then we got a chance of that being the case. So I think that was really important that we created that real sense of fighting for a title, and with that comes momentum, and as you've seen tonight, you've got a team that is desperate to win. We've got some comfort in the position that we find ourselves in, I think, with very well now secured home advantage for the playoffs, but we wanted to see a team tonight that looked like it was fighting for a title, and you certainly saw that.
Just past the midway point, you get the first goal in the game, but then just before halftime, Dane has to make a big save. Just what did you see from him?
Exactly that, and that was a really crucial moment in the game, and that is Dane. I think he's got a real knack for being out of a game for a long period, as he was. I think the goal was almost untouched for 40 odd minutes or so, and when he's needed, he's there, and that is a super important trait of a goalkeeper. And Dane is, as I've said multiple times up here, he's the man for a big moment. He's the man for the big stage. And what I was most pleased with tonight in Dane's case is that we were able to get him a clean sheet, because there's been a number of occasions this year where he's deserved one and we haven't got him one. And I think goalkeepers tend to live or die by that sort of thing. So I think he leaves the pitch a happy man, and we owe him tonight for sure.
Without Yeboah, you spoke this week about this being an opportunity to build some versatility. Did you feel like the team did that tonight? Yeah, for sure. And we haven't, over the course of, if you think back to our run of form post Leagues Cup last year, it's been an exceptional run of form. I don't think there'll be many teams, if any, that have picked up the number of points that we have over the course of the back end of last season, over say 10, 12, 13 games, and then going into this year, and I haven't lost back-to-back games for well over a year in the league, I think. And what that tends to mean is that we're not searching for wholesale changes to find solutions to problems. The situation that we're in now, post the window, with everything that went with that, and a couple of the injuries we've picked up, has put ourselves
put us for the first time in a position where we have to think very differently about how the team looks, and I think we've really enjoyed that as a coaching staff, and I'm sure the players have been refreshed by some different messages and players having to do something different. So I think as we move into the playoffs now, then it's a nice string to have in our bow. But obviously we have a default that we've used over the course of the last 45 games that has put us in a really good position. So I think we're now we're fortunate, and certainly when Kelvin comes back into the mix, we'll have some food for thought.
Thanks, everybody.
Good. Thanks, guys.